You very, very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dr. Tia Murray, and I am the founder of Fly, a boutique style consulting and speaking business, and a newly certified international AI compliance professional. And one of the things that I want to talk to you tonight about is AI in the field of human resources. We're going to cover governance in HR. We're going to talk about compliance obligations and human accountability. I want you to take a minute and imagine. I want you to take a minute and imagine being sued for a decision that you didn't even make. Imagine that decision cost $365,000. That is exactly what happened with the iTutor Group, who settled a EEOC lawsuit complaint for $365,000. And here's the deal. They were not trying to be discriminatory. No one had said something that was inappropriate. No one had did anything that you would think that would land them in this position. But what happened is they had an AI hiring tool that was automatically rejecting applicants over the age of 55. No one flagged it, no one caught it. So by the time EEOC came knocking at their door, because it will happen, hundreds of qualified people were rejected based solely on their age. So imagine, what could your organization do with $365,000? And now that money had to be paid. I'm here to tell you, I have spent over 23 years sitting at the table in leadership positions in different fields, whether it's local government, whether it's state governments, whether it's tribal governments, whether it's private enterprises, whether it was nonprofits. I have been at the table where I have seen leaders that are unable to explain a decision because they wasn't quite sure how it happened. So I created this training for you to provide you with some tips and some tools that you will be able to put into effect in your organization so you don't have to be the one in that seat. So let me ask you something. How many of you, and drop your answers down in the chat box below, your company uses some form of AI technology, whether it's to write your resumes, to automate your scheduling, to benchmark your salaries, or to sort resumes? Go ahead, drop it in the box below. Exactly. Thank you, Tina. I see your comment. Good comment. I see your comment. Thank you. Thank you. This training, again, is designated and is here in order to help you. So, what we do know is that the law is very clear in regards to discrimination. We know the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 protects a protected class of individuals. And what happened was in May of 2023, additional information was added to that law because EEOC saw the technology. They saw that AI was here and it was here to stay. So they added information that will help organizations and businesses be able to make decisions and regarding their employment process to avoid discrimination. Basically, the law says if you deploy it, it is yours. You are responsible for whatever that AI technology does. And then there was additional information that was provided and under the ADA requirements. And this is really important, and I want you to pay attention. That judgment says that a human being, a documented interactive process and individualized assessment has to be done. It takes more than just technology. Now, I live in the beautiful state of Oklahoma, and Oklahoma doesn't have any local or state laws around AI. That does not mean if you happen to live in a state that doesn't have any state laws, that doesn't mean that you're exempt for the federal laws. But again, we all know that AI is affecting all areas. So, what you need to do as an organization is be able to build governance in order to protect yourself because the laws is coming. Here in the state of Oklahoma, we will implement something January 2027. We're a little bit slower, we're behind, but we recognize that there is a need and we do have a law that will be going into effect in 2027. One of the things that I've noticed is that there's particularly four risk zones that an organization faces. And the most frequent, and I cannot stress this enough, the most frequent is in the recruiting and screening of applicants. What happens is the AI tool will pick up patterns of behaviors. It will pick up the same type of candidates over and over, and listen, it's silent. It doesn't say to you, hey, we're picking the same people. It takes a human to intervene to notice what's going on and to notice that the same person, the same type of people are being selected. I'm sure many of you have heard it's made the news, it's made most of the major news outlets about Workday. They, like the iTutor group, are having to answer for their recruitment and screening processes. Do they have someone that was documenting and that was checking theirs? The facts have not been revealed yet, but it is important. It is being looked at and they're having to answer for that. The next area that I see as a risk zone is its performance and discipline. If you happen to use an AI tool that in performance and discipline, and you don't have that human person in there to check and to make sure and to verify that information and to notice if there's any gaps and notice there were any other extenuating circumstances, because remember, AI tools only takes in the information that it has. It doesn't take into account other circumstances that may affect. And what you don't want to do is discipline someone, terminate someone based solely on what an AI tool says. Because why? EEOC can come knocking at your door, and you don't want that to happen. Another area that I see deemed as a risk zone is compensation and benefits. If you use an AI tool to come up with salaries for whether it's new employees, whether it's annual evaluations, and you use an AI tool and there's no human that is there checking that information, you could be paying a higher salary to a male employee, and you can have a female doing the same type of work. That can happen in the beginning, that can happen at the annual evaluation. It can happen anywhere during the process where you're looking at evaluating someone for compensation or benefits. Do you really want to be the person responsible for a female being paid less than a male and they're doing equal work? The other area that is a risk zone is scheduling and account and calculations. Automated systems, AI is great for throwing in the information and you'll see the data and you see the numbers and you think it was accurate. Because what it does, it evaluates employee conversations and things that is going on within the organization. But what it doesn't take into effect is the rules and the laws that protect the ADA, that protect whether it's like FEMLA or American Disability Act. AI doesn't take those things into consideration. A human takes those things into consideration. So those are the four compliance risk zones for your organization. But here's what you can do. There are three questions that I believe that every AI tool in your organization needs to answer. The first one is who ultimately is accountable. And when I say who ultimately is accountable, I'm not saying a department. It needs to be written who is the person identified, because HR department could be anybody, but it needs to be the person's name who is identified as the person that goes in and checks and to verify the information. And it could be a number, it can be a number of different people, but it needs to be clearly identified who is accountable. The second question that you need to ask is what happens when something goes wrong and who makes that decision? So when you're looking at your AI tool and you notice a pattern, who makes the decision when something goes wrong? Who decides it? Because this is what I want for you to know. Every algorithm produces error, errors. They make mistakes. It's just the nature of what it is. So, do you have a documented process to override if something goes wrong? The third question that you need to ask is when was the last time you did an audit? Remember, I had said the iTutor group, they were just trying to be efficient. But what it was is they were not auditing their tools outputs to see what results they were getting. So auditing is just as important as finding out who's accountable and who's documenting and what happens in the override. You must perform regular audits to make sure to be able to capture any gaps. See, here's what I need for you to really understand. Being present is not the same as exercising judgment. What happens is the reviewer needs to have enough information. Reviewer needs to have enough information, and the AI can provide the data. And after you go through those questions, being able to make a meaningful, independent judgment. AI cannot be the be all. It takes still the human contact. Because what happens is when someone comes back and reviews your files, just like when EEOC came knocking at our tutor group, just like when it's being called into question for Workday, they're going to have to produce data of showing what they did and how they monitored their AI tools in order for it not to discriminate. And what will the outcome be? I don't know. I look forward to hearing what happens with that. But in the situation with the iTutor group, they had to pay $365,000. So again, it's more than just clicking the button. It's making sure that you're present and exercising meaningful, independent judgment. Because see, the law is clear. The law doesn't say what did the tool intend to do. The standard is whether a human being reviewed it, understood what it produced, and made a judgment call based on the information that they were presented. Now, some of that information can be from what the AI tool gave them, but it cannot be just that information. What we do understand is this: AI is not going away. And most of these tools, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they can make your life easier. They can do things in order to help your business, but you need to have governance. You need to have compliance. Governance is not a barrier to efficiency. What you want to do is to be able to legally defend your business. So you're asking, like, okay, you're giving me all this information. So tell me again, what is it that I need to do? Here it is. And then here's the roadmap. The first thing you need to do is make an inventory of all AI tools that you have that affects your hiring and employment process. Every tool. The next thing you need to do is answer the three questions: accountability, error handling, and last time it's audit. And then from that information, document and flag the gaps, record the answers, and mark what's ever urgent. in order for your organization to address and to take care of. Because this is what I really like to share with you. Governance is not a one-time exercise. Doing those steps is not something you do at the beginning. It's something that needs to be on a continuous commitment, not only from you, but the organization as a whole. That every AI assisted decision that your organization makes can be explained, defended, and as we see from iTutor, as we see from Workday, you will eventually, whether it's tomorrow or in the future, you may have to defend your organization, and having those steps and the processes in place in order to do so is owned by a human being, not just an AI tool. So what? Not just an AI tool. Humans still cut the check. So govern yourself accordingly. Thank you. I'm Dr. Tia Murray, and I appreciate your time.